So, Ken, was your mother nervous about you boat racing?
My mom was more than nervous. Had there been tranquilizers available to her in those days, she would have been a real consumer of them. My dad was not nervous. He really enjoyed everything about boat racing, and I think part of the reason he enjoyed it is because it brought some notoriety to him as well.
Tell us what it was like to be a 9-year-old doing this kind of thing.
Well, at 9 years of age, I only weighed 52 pounds. And when you're going 42 miles an hour across water, it's thrilling and it's a little scary. And there's an unknown of not knowing whether or not you're going to hit a beer can that could be floating, that could tip you over. It's not knowing whether you're going to come up against a wave that's going to bounce you out of the water, maybe even bounce you out of the boat. But with a little bit of experience, I lost that anxiety and really look forward to those Sunday boat races.
How did the other kids in your class think of you as a racer?
Well, I think there was a couple of different views. Some people thought, that boat racing, what's the value in that? What are you doing that for? You should be studying, or you should be playing football, or you should be, better yet, you should be playing hockey. What I really enjoyed about it, though, as I found out, is that it was a way for me to set myself apart from others. And I didn't even realize that, I guess, at the time. But I was able to develop a brand at a very early age and didn't even know it was happening.
You mentioned before that you had a conversation with a local younger individual who you had a tremendous impact on. Without naming that person, could you share a bit about that?
Well, I had lunch last summer with a friend of a friend who is from Eagle River, and he said, Kenny, he calls me Kenny yet. He said, why don't you post some of that information about boat racing on You're from Eagle River If on the Facebook website. He said, you may not know this, but you were my idol because you could go so fast and you beat those men, and there's nothing I like more than to watch you race on a Sunday afternoon or practice during the week.
So how did the other adult racers feel about going up against a 9-year-old?
Well, in those days, there were no restrictions on age in boat racing. So you could be 92 in race, or you could be 7 in race. Well, I was 8, 9, 10. And the adult racers would watch to see whether or not we attended a race, and they said, if the poor kid is here, we probably won't win. And I had the big advantage of weighing only 52 pounds when they may have weighed 200. They had the same size boat, same weight boat, same kind of motor, but that weight advantage almost made it impossible for them to go as fast as I did.
So the poor kid is a pretty interesting moniker. Where'd you come up with that name?
The name Poor Kid comes from having breakfast one morning with my mom and dad on Big Bass Lake. And my dad, I remember, looked out the window and he saw the boat out there and he said, he looked over at me, he said, I think you're the poor kid. So he got up, got his paintbrush, painted the name Poor Kid on the boat, and we left for a race with the paint still wet, and that name stuck. So even today, when I see people that I knew 50, 60 years ago, they say, hey, poor kid, how you doing?
So you started pretty young. How many years did you race?
Well, I had a relatively short career as a boat racer. I raced from being, I think, 7 until about 14. And in that period of time, I raced regular rowboats. That's how we all started. And then on up to a boat and motor that would do about 42, 43 miles an hour.
If I may ask, why'd you quit racing at 14?
I quit boat racing as an early teenager for several reasons. One, boat racing had started to decline. It was not as popular as it was in 1949, 50. I was getting a little bit bigger. I probably weighed 90 pounds at that point and wasn't as competitive. And I think that that part of my life, as it fitted into my parents' life, just had run its course.
Just to ask, what were your experiences with sponsorship?
Well, I always think today when I watch an Adidas ad or something and see that they sponsor a basketball player or something, little did I realize that in 1951, I was able to receive money from Martin Motor Company to ensure that we used their motor rather than a competitor motor. And I actually didn't use that money. It was $1,500 a year until I went off to college.
So tell us, how did your early experience change the rest of your life?
Well, I think that one of the things that was important about being a boat racer at a very young age is that it allowed me to become a distinct person from all of the other kids my age. And I recall now that I enjoyed that, and so throughout life that's been something that I've always wanted to do. I went in the Peace Corps to set myself apart. I went back to school a couple of times to set myself apart. I worked my plan in my work life in such a way that it set me apart from other people. So I think that would be the common theme that runs through 65 years now.
Do you think that racing honed a bit of a competitive edge in you that lasted for the rest of your life?
I think that it did. I remember that you wouldn't win unless you had a good plan when you went out, that you took actions or you handled or managed that race in a way that would allow you to come in first. And throughout life, I've used that same concept of having a plan, working the plan, always doing the best you could. And it's what you did when you're racing. You never wanted to miss a second or lose a second.
Well, Ken, it's been fun. One last question. Is there any one experience from your racing career that really stands out in your mind?
Well, yes, there's one experience there are several experiences that stand out in my mind, but the one I'll share with you didn't actually occur here in Eagle River. I was in New York City to help promote the New York City Boat Show, and was on television. This is 1952. It was on television quite a bit to promote it and so forth. And I was going to be on the television program What's My Line? And once they did a little research, they felt that I wouldn't be a good candidate because I would be real easy to identify, because the people that interviewed you or asked you questions had probably seen me.